Welcome to the Happiness Minute. Our episode today is called Positive Food Habits for a Brivant Life. Today we're talking about food, more specifically, how to build positive food habits that empower, nourish, and sustain us without falling into the trap of restrictive diets or one size fits all solutions. Also, we'll explore what it means to embrace your unique body, build a healthy relationship with food, and create sustainable habits that align with the Brivant life you deserve. So, joining us is an incredible guest, Susannah Alexander, who is the founder of No Drama Nutrition. She champions plus size people who've been body shamed by health professionals, giving them the confidence, the knowledge, and vocabulary to understand their bodies better and advocate for their health on their terms.
Welcome back to the Happiness Minute. We have a very special guest today, Susannah. Hi, Susannah. How are you?
Hi Anna, I'm great. How are you doing? Happy New
Oh,
Year.
good. Happy New Year, Susannah. So it's great that you're here today because our topic is very, very relevant, especially at the start of the new year. Before anything else, Susannah, can you tell us more about what you do?
Sure. Well, I am a size-friendly nutritional therapist, which may sound like a contradiction to some people. I have a first-class honours degree in nutritional therapy from Westminster University. And I actually started out life in teaching and education and then moved to nutritional therapy a bit later in life. And I absolutely loved geeking out on the science of
Ah,
it. But what I don't love is some of the things in the wellness industry and the way that they victimize people and blame people and think that you have to be a particular size or that you have to have a particular health paradigm to be in some way worthy as a human being. I believe that this is totally wrong. And I've been in a larger body literally all my life. I mean, you can see photographs of me as a very young child. I've always been in a larger body, and it's not because we ate rubbish in my family, because we most certainly didn't. Um, there are, so I want to, in my practice, which is a little bit different from what other people do, advocate for all shapes and sizes of bodies and many different paradigms of health, which includes first and foremost mental health.
okay, that's great. So, Susanna, I think it's very topical today that we discuss about food habits because it's the start of the year, and actually people are thinking about their health a bit more because they've overindulged during Christmas time. So, my first question to you, and it's more on a personal level, is that what does positive food habits mean to you?
Well, I think positive food habits start from a positive attitude towards food. I think so many people have fears around food these days because we're bombarded with information
Yeah.
about what's quote unquote good or bad or healthy or unhealthy. And all of these aren't particularly helpful terms because actually we need to think about what's right for us. So I think a positive relationship with food involves knowing your own body and what your body needs to feel nourished and satisfied and happy and strong within itself, within the parameters of what that means for you, because not everybody has the same paradigm of health and not everyone is able to be healthy, and healthy is not a moral judgment.
Okay. Yeah, because you mentioned everyone is sort of like different anyway, and it's actually being a positive food habits will be different for every person. But in sort of like a more general term, how can one person start building a healthy relationship with food? Because I know like I said, everyone's different anyway, but at least there is sort of like a general way to do it, sort of.
I so I think that we have to take food is very connected with emotion. We don't just eat with our mouths. We think we just put food in our mouths and taste it. But actually, we eat with all of our senses. We eat with our eyes first. Sometimes we eat with our ears if we hear things sizzle. We certainly eat with our sense of
Yeah.
smell. Sometimes food has texture, so that involves the sense of touch. So food is a very sensory and sensual experience. But I think what we do is take that away and start to moralize food. So we say this food is quote unquote good, this food is quote unquote bad. What I really want people to realize is food has no moral connotations. Your food, unless it went out and mugged a little old lady before you ate it, which it didn't, it's not bad. Unless you rolled it in the dirt, it's not dirty or clean. These moralistic terms need to be taken out of food so that we can enjoy it for what it is. Even like words like healthy, although they sound really good, some people equate healthy with boring or with restrictive.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
And actually, healthy foods aren't that. Fruits and vegetables and whole grains, they're really exciting foods. So I think we have to learn to value food for what it is and not ascribe moral judgments to it. So let's engage our senses again. What I would like everybody to do this year is to start off the year with a meal that they really like.
Oh, nice. Yes,
And
of
to
course.
really connect with that meal. And it doesn't matter if that meal is in a 5-star restaurant or it's fish and chips out of a newspaper. Eat something you really like, but spend time doing it. So I think this is the other thing. We talk a lot about blue zones. Blue zones are the places in the world where people live longest and have the most good, healthy years of life. And we talk about the food they eat a lot, and that's super important. But the thing that we sometimes don't talk about is the way, it's the context in which the food is presented. They don't do what we do in the West. We bolt our meals down. We're on our computers, on our phones, on our devices when we eat. We don't sit down and eat as a family. We're on to the next thing. And that really, first of all, actually, from a biological perspective, it interferes with our digestive processes. So it makes the food less available to us. It means we're using it biologically in a less efficient way. But it also takes the pleasure and the experience out of eating. So everybody, what I'd really like you to do this year is connect with a meal that you really love, re-engage with that, and understand what food means to you, and understand what it really means to enjoy a meal. Because I think when we enjoy our food, then we start to make choices that are more aligned with what our body wants and needs.
Yeah, because like you said a while ago, you mentioned something that you want to get people to think differently in a way of how to eat healthily without the rigid diet. So are there other myths surrounding about eating healthy? And what sort of like this myths are, and just let us know what they are.
So I think there's a lot of mythology around quote unquote diet. When I use the word diet, I just mean what you eat. So
these are the rigid diets or just rigid diets. Yeah.
So there's a lot of so for example, we have veganuary, which a lot of people might want to do for environmental reasons or ethical reasons, but a lot of people feel you cannot be healthy unless you're a vegan. Some people feel you cannot be healthy unless you're a carnivore. Some people feel that you cannot be healthy unless you count your macros. Now, the truth is, again, going back to the blue zones, what people in the blue zones do is that they eat a variety of foods and they eat a variety of whole foods. And they base their diets on plants, but they don't remove anything. That they have also proteins in the form of meats and fish and dairy foods. So some people can, of course, be allergic to foods or intolerant to foods, or their body just doesn't like them. They don't feel good on them. And so, if that's you, obviously don't eat those foods. But if that's not you, then I think variety really is the spice of life, and spice is the variety of life as well. Again, we don't have to make nutritious eating boring. So I
Yeah.
think some people, they restrict and they restrict and they restrict, and their food is very repetitive. Now, some people like that, by the way. I know people who literally eat the same meals every week, week in, week out, and that kind of gives them a sense of security. And maybe they don't like very many different things, and they know what they like and they eat it. And if that works for you, fine. I would absolutely go mad on that kind of restriction. I like to try different things and experiment. So I think that's the other thing. I think people need to be curious about food again, and people need to listen to what's happening with their bodies when they eat.
Yeah, well, I do believe that, because I remember watching it was on its heli at one point, wherein they had an experiment with a set of twins. So one twin was eating the sort of same food almost every day in a given week, and another was it's just their lifestyle, and another was eating a wide variety of food, like probably 20, 30 different types of fruit, veg, and whatever that. And then they realized at the end of the experiment, the one that ate the variety, more variety, is much healthier.
Mm.
And she has more energy. So I do believe like variety in terms of what you're eating is quite good as well, because at least it will make you happy at the end of the day.
Absolutely. So I think we have to remove rigidity and hard and fast rules and saying one size fits all, because that most certainly isn't the case. I think that makes it easier and it makes it harder. It makes it easier in the sense that if we throw out the rule book, then
Mhm.
we don't we don't have the stress around restriction. It makes it harder because it relies on us having a skill that many of us, myself included, have lost, which is really tuning into our bodies, really
Mhm.
listening to what our bodies want, and what makes them feel good. And for me, having lots of fruits and vegetables and things makes me feel good, and it makes me feel excited by coming up with different things I can do with all these colors and flavors. For somebody else, maybe that isn't good for them, that doesn't suit them. So I think that letting go also of societal norms. I mean, there are societal norms about everyone has to eat breakfast. I get so
Oh,
much push.
that's another myth. Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly think it is. I get so much pushback because I don't care to eat in the morning generally. Occasionally if I'm away and there's a nice breakfast on offer, I'll have it. But generally speaking, I don't. My body doesn't feel good from eating in the morning. It just feels a lot hungrier later, and the evidence around breakfast is quite weak. So, for example, people say, well, people who eat breakfast, um, they're thinner. Well, it turns out they're only a couple of pounds thinner. It's not really very clinically significant.
Mhm.
And also, you know, thinner isn't the only paradigm of health.
Yeah.
So I think, again, if you absolutely can't function without your breakfast, great. If you're someone who functions pretty well without it, and it's another thing for you to do in a busy morning, then maybe it's not the best paradigm for you. You don't have to listen to what's right for the person down the road.
Mm. Yeah, that's true actually. Because when you mentioned, like, for me, I do eat breakfast, but sometimes there's certain days I just eat a very light one, and sometimes like a heavy one. But it really depends on how I feel on the day as well. And I think it is all to do with the energy levels when you wake up. Um, and speaking about energy levels, do you think food really impact our energy levels and of course our mental health?
Absolutely, yeah. no, 100%. I think there is so much evidence out there. And the thing is, but it's a more complicated picture than people think. I think people think that energy levels is about how many calories you eat.
Yeah.
And it's really not. It's about how we process the food that we eat. So, you probably had the experience of eating a sort of pasta meal and feeling absolutely knackered afterwards. And you think, well, why is this? I've just eaten a meal that should give me a load of energy. But it honestly depends on things like your blood sugar balance, your what's called the methylation cycle, which is how we turn. Which is how we turn.
Fancy word.
Yeah, I know. I can geek out on the methylation cycle quite a lot. It's basically how we turn the compounds we put into our body into compounds our body can actually use. And a lot of this is genetically determined. So sometimes we can have genetic variants in our methylation cycle that mean that we can eat energy-rich foods, but not get a lot of energy out of them. So actually, one of the things I really like in practice, I'm not a great one for testing people all the time. I'm needle phobic, so I don't do blood tests. So unless I see a very good reason for them, I don't ask other people. But one thing that I think is really useful is looking at your genes, and I don't mean 23andMe. No objections to 23andMe if you want to look at ancestry, but there are companies that measure genes that can be modified. If we know that we have glitches in the methylation cycle, we can use dietary interventions to modify that. So we can use targeted B vitamins to help us balance the methylation cycle better and get more energy from our food. And I think there's no doubt at all that food has an impact on mental health, and that mental health also has an impact on food. So I want to tell you guys, I've just in the last 6 months been through a period of really quite nasty depression, and all I wanted to do was lie on the sofa and eat my body weight in chocolate. And that's, I know, it's not, now I'm sort of coming out the other side and I'm going, that's not the best thing. But at the time, you do what you can do to survive, and it's really your body saying, I just need to keep you going, and I just need something that that will take the pain away, even if it's just for a couple of minutes. And I think again, when we're in that and people are saying, right, well, no, you've got to eat all these vegetables, and you go, I really can't cope with that because everything shuts down. I mean, when I was at my worst and I had a breakdown, my whole system shut down. I couldn't function, I couldn't make decisions, I couldn't do anything. So if someone was kind of coming to nag me about a healthy diet at that point, I think I wouldn't have been able to function. It wouldn't have been the right thing either, because my digestive system couldn't have coped with it. So again, that's an instance in which we might need to, I'm not a big one for supplements. I think nutrition should come from food, but that's an instance in which we might just need to use supplements to get us through a tough period until, so now my body's like, bring it on. I want the fruits and the vegetables and the fiber and the meats and the everything. And I want to be able to cook it. But I had a period where that very much wasn't the case. So yeah, definitely food and mental health have an impact on one another. And a lot of it is to do with the digestive system, because I think a lot of people know this now, but in case people don't, there is a two-way communication system between the digestive system and the brain. So what happens in our guts affects our intestines, affects our mental health, and what's happening in our brains affects the digestive system. And most of the communication goes from the digestive tract to the brain. So if you are not functioning very well digestively, if you're not eating the right fibers, if your friendly bacteria that live in your digestive system are not happy, then your brain's not going to be terribly happy either. So there's an awful lot to unpick and an awful lot going on. But I think we need to take it back to first principles and simplify things. I really think that what's going on in the world at the moment is everything is very complicated and everything is very intense. And what I really feel is that people are looking for a bit more simplicity in life. That just seems to be coming over in business, in people's personal lives, in all kinds of things, that we're a bit sick of the, again, like food is used for morality, being busy seems to be a sign of moral strength. And I think we're kicking back against that. We're kicking back against that intensity of life. And I think that for people just starting out on their food journey, taking it back to first principles and keeping it really simple is absolutely key to rediscovering a good relationship with food.
Yeah, I do believe so as well in terms of like the mental health. Because I remember I did like a couple of diets when I was younger, and I felt like when I was doing that, I was a bit cranky. I was like I get annoyed really easily. So I always feel like if I do a diet, I'm not really a happy person. Mainly because everything's being restricted, and I don't want to be restricted. So I guess it does impact. Food does impact the way you feel as well, and also the way you deal with other people, because at that time like, oh, I don't want to deal with this person, so you're always angry at the world.
I think there are lots of biological reasons why dieting can do that to us. First of all, as you say, you're putting yourself in a restriction mentality.
Yeah.
So if you're restricting your food, and you're using a lot of mental energy to concentrate on what you can eat and what you can't eat. And so you have less mental energy for other things. We only have a finite amount of mental energy, particularly when our mental health is a bit shaky. And using all that up in worrying about food. And it can make social situations very difficult as well. If you're convinced that you can't eat this, that, and the other, it makes it very hard to go out and socialize and have a meal with friends or family. I remember I used to love going to restaurants, and when I was in my diet phase, and I've done it, I've done all the not all the diets, but many diets. I found that very upsetting, and that's in the end why I stopped dieting, because I just found social situations too
Yeah,
difficult to
that's right.
navigate.
Yeah.
I think also a lot of people, when they diet, they cut back on foods that could nourish them. And therefore, they are potentially cutting back on those B vitamins and those fibers, particularly if they're doing something like keto, which again, I know works for a lot of people's goals. But I think, it can, if you're not methylating very well, it can be short on B vitamins, and therefore you can feel very short of energy. The other thing is, a lot of people love intermittent fasting. It didn't work for me at all. It just made me really cranky. But and the reason
Because you
it
get
did, I was
so
just
hungry.
I was hangry the whole time. But the reason is because, people in larger bodies like me can be quite insulin resistant. And unless you sort out the blood sugar balance and the insulin resistance, as I say, going back to first principles, you're never going to do well on that kind of eating. It's just going to make you hungry. So you really have to look at the person and see what's going on, and listen to them and listen to their history, and even maybe take a look at their genetics and look at what's going on in their lives, and even look at things like what they like and don't like, to see what will suit them and what will most benefit them in terms of having balanced energy and being able to support their mental health.
Okay. Yeah. One of the things that I'm actually looking at as well is because it's the start of the year, so I know it's not that busy at the moment, but probably in the next week or two, I'm gonna be super super busy, and I guess a lot of the other people out there will be the same. And sometimes you'll probably might miss lunch, or my lunch is a bit later. So how can busy people incorporate positive food habits into their daily routines?
So this is actually why I invented my program Eat Like a Goddess,
Ah.
because I was juggling loads of jobs and things last year, and I found this very, very tricky. So what I did was devise this program whereby there is a packed lunch, for the day and a soup in the evening, which doesn't mean some boring little bit of liquid. It means a really robust soup with lots of stuff in it. But of course, why I called it Eat Like a Goddess is that every goddess has to do it her way and own her stuff. So, if you wanted to eat the same salad every day and just make a huge thing of soup and just eat it every night, so it's super quick, you can do that. I think making judicious use of convenience foods is really important. So, we have. I think it's to penalise women. We have this whole thing that everything has to be cooked from scratch or it's no good. Well, personally, I like to open the quickest salad in the world is fresh, healthy, but made of convenience food. I open a packet of pre-cooked lentils. I put it in a bowl. I open a tin of tuna. I put it in. I cut up some tomatoes. I put them in. I cut up an avocado. I put it in. I have a bit of mustard, a bit of lemon, a bit of olive oil, mush it, mixed all together, maybe a bit of red onion if I've got it. Takes 5 minutes and it's absolutely packed with nutrients. So I think just making use of, I'm not saying by any means eat ready meals. No. I don't think those are super nutritious. So look, everything has its place, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about there is nothing wrong with opening a tin of tomatoes. There is nothing wrong with opening a packet of pre-cooked lentils or pre-cooked quinoa or a can of sweet corn. You can have things ready in 5 minutes. Another thing I like to do is I open a packet of pre-cooked quinoa. I have a tin of corn that I drain, some kale out of a packet, stick it in the oven for 5 minutes to roast it. In a bowl, olive oil, pre-cooked edamame beans, bit of avocado, feta cheese, pomegranate seeds, badum.
Done.
Yeah,
that's quick.
Exactly. These
less than 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. You can prepare something nutritious in less than 10 minutes. My oven broke down this year, and I didn't know what to do because I use my oven all the time. So I bought an air fryer and I thought, oh, this is a really stupid gimmick. And it took me a while to get used to it, but now I love my air fryer.
All right.
Because again, you just put a couple of fish fillets in it, you set it on roast, 7 minutes later, it's done. It is so easy.
That's good.
And it's so stress-free.
Yeah, it's stress-free because that's the thing. And I think that's the reason why, like with busy people, having a stress-free eating time it's essential. So like you said, you can mix things really quickly. You don't need to cook if you don't want to. There are salads out there that are also equally nutritious. So yeah, I do agree as well.
And again, if you want something hot because it's really cold out there, yes, of course we can all make our own stock from scratch, bone broth, and it's great, but we can buy almost as good bone broths from the supermarket or from the deli. And we can just heat those up. We can put some vegetables in. Again, we can have dinner a light supper on the table in under 10 minutes, and it can be really full of nutrients.
Yeah, that's a very, very good idea. So, Susannah, I've got 2 last questions for you. So my second to the last question is, if you can give one piece of advice to someone looking to improve their relationship food today, what will it be?
Like I said, I would love everybody this January to go out and eat a meal that they take time to eat, a meal that they really enjoy and really connect with that experience.
Okay.
Think about, what is it they enjoyed about that meal? How did it make them feel? What do they want to do as a result? And, that could mean, I love mezes. My ideal meal would be to go out to a Moroccan place or a Greek place or a Turkish place and eat lots of different mezes. Because
That's good.
I know that my food has to be colourful, it has to have lots of veggies in it, it has to have lots of different taste experiences in it, and that's what I will really like, and that's what I'll want to recreate at home. Without, again, spending loads of time, because who has that? And who wants stress in their lives? But I think if everyone could reconnect with that experience of having a really joyful meal, then that makes you think of food as something that's exciting and not something that's your enemy. Food is not your enemy. Food is our friend. It gives us what we need if we let it.
Okay, cool. Okay, so my last question, Susannah, is how do people connect with you, and how, if they need a bit of guidance in terms of their nutrition, how would they connect with you?
Okay, well, I have a lovely website which is called nodramanutrition.co.uk. Because I set up as No Drama Nutrition because there's so much hype and hyperbole around the world of nutrition, and I just wanted to take all the drama and the stress out of things. And yes, we can do some really geeky, wonderful things with nutrition, but we have to sort out those first principles first. Blood sugar, energy, mental health, getting enough fiber, and just learning what we enjoy. So nodramanutrition.co.uk. You can also join my free Facebook group, which is called Susannah's Nutrition Kitchen. And you can connect with me on LinkedIn as Susannah Alexander, and on Instagram I'm No Drama Nut.
Okay. I like that. So thank you, Susannah, for today, for being my guest. And everyone, if you like our episode, do share, subscribe to our channel, and share it to your friends and family. So that's us. See you next time. Bye.
Bye, everyone.